Hi, and welcome to 10 Plus Hacks with Captivate and the Creative Cloud. My name is Mark Itzkowicz, and in this masterclass, I'd like to show you how to increase productivity, spice up your projects, and get creative using the creative tools of the Adobe Creative Cloud. All of our e-learning projects include a variety of media, from text to graphics, images, video, animation, and more. So it only makes sense to use the amazing tools of the Adobe Creative Cloud to help assist you in making each asset at its best. So let's get started. For my first hack, I'd like to introduce you to the Workspaces in the Adobe Creative Cloud. Every single application in the Adobe Creative Cloud enables you to change the application's workspace, thereby improving your workflow and enabling you to get to the things that you need to get to quickly and efficiently. So here in Photoshop, you'll see under Window, I have Workspace, and I can change the Essentials default workspace, which I'm in now. Or I could move the panels around and make my own space, and I've done that before, and I've saved it as Mark's space with my panels on the left-hand side. And if I go to Premiere, you'll see that I have the workspaces under Window again, Window Workspaces, and I can go and change to the color workspace, which brings up all the panels I need for color correction. I can go to the graphics workspace, which brings me up the essential graphics panels and everything I need to edit my text if I had any here. And in Captivate as well, we have workspaces. If we go into our preferences, we can check this box, Enable Custom Workspaces. Press OK, quit and restart Captivate, and then you'll see from the top right, you'll see a classic workspace. I can reset the classic workspace to out of the box, which kind of reduces or removes all of my panels. So why don't I take advantage of that? I'll go to Window Film Strip and I'll get rid of that, and I'll save this workspace as a new workspace. I'll call this Clear, so that at any point I can just reset the workspace and I can get rid of all of the panels at once. Now I can make another workspace. Maybe I can open up my film strip, open up the Align panel, which I always need. I'll open up the Properties panel, of course. I'll open up the Timeline, maybe the Library, all the things that I'm using all the time. I'll open up my Slide Notes. I'll open the Timing Properties. And I'll even open up the master slide. So I'll click on Film Strip since that's what I use most often. And I'll grab the timeline to the left since that's what I'm using most often as well. And then I'll save this workspace. I'll go to the top up here. I'll go to New Workspace. And I'll call this All Panels. And I'll press OK. Now I can easily go to Clear and reset the Clear workspace and have no panels, or I can go to All Panels and show all of my panels, enabling you to easily go back and forth between the two workspaces. Or you can set up new workspaces and set your panels up as you like. And for hack number 2, I'd like to introduce you to Adobe Font. Here we can improve our e-learning projects and cater to your brand by using almost any font that we want. You know, now that we're doing our e-learning projects and exporting to HTML and HTML5, we're kind of limited in the fonts that we can use. And we kind of have to stick to what's called our web-safe fonts. These 8 fonts that we know pretty much almost every computer in their browser is going to have access to. But if I want to use a font like Rockwell that I have on my system only, well, I can't really do that because my users aren't going to see the same font. Unless, of course, they click on this Creative Cloud icon and head over to Adobe Fonts. Once Adobe Fonts launches, I can search for any font that I want out of their over 2,000 families of fonts. So I'll search for Rockwell, and there it is, Rockwell Nova or Rockwell. I'll select one of those. And now it shows me the Rockwell family of fonts that it has. I can choose one like the regular one here, and I can activate the font. Instantly, it'll let me know that this is activated from the Creative Cloud. And when I head back over to Captivate, I can now drop down and I'll notice that I see my Rockwell font under the Adobe Fonts. I can use these fonts for my project now. And when I publish the project, I can feel safe knowing that this project is now linked to my Adobe Fonts account and the fonts that I'm using will be included in the Creative Cloud plan and it'll package and be accessible to all. The only thing I need to make sure I do is to add the domain name of whoever is hosting my LMS project. And if you can't find the exact font you're looking for, Adobe Font will give you other recommendations or pairings that are similar to those fonts. I could also even upload a picture. If I click on this little icon here, I can choose a photograph. I'll click on my business card. It'll scan the file, and this way it can help me find a particular font. I'll make my selection around my logo here, and I'll press the next step. I'll just clarify what the text is saying. So I'll type in there headTrix. I'll press next step. And it immediately brings up fonts that are similar to the font that I've scanned. Pretty neat. I hope this helps spice up your projects by using Adobe Fonts. Next up, hack number 3 is Adobe Stock. All of our e-learning projects are always going to have images. The hard part is going to find them and having to search the web and look all over the place. Not anymore. Now I can click on the Assets button right here within Captivate. And under Assets, you'll see I have icons, 360 assets, images, and even videos that I can peruse and use with my projects for free. And although there are a lot of images here, it is a little bit limited. However, if I click on Discover, it loads up Adobe Stock. So now you have access to millions of images, videos, audios, templates, you name it. And just like Adobe Fonts, I can also just load up an image of something that I'm looking for. And Adobe Stock has artificial intelligence, which helps me find exactly what I'm looking for. So if I type in a 3-person meeting, it'll show me a bunch of photos with 3 people meeting. Amazing. Now if I want to use something, I could just click over here and I can download a preview. It'll let me know that the Adobe Stock file is downloaded to the stock folder and it's viewable in the download tab under assets. So I'll close this window. I'll go over to downloads, and under images, you'll see all the images that I've downloaded. Here's one here. I can insert and place it in my Adobe Captivate project. We could also go back to assets under discover to go to Adobe Stock. I'll search for two business people. I can now find similar images to the images I'm looking for. I could download a preview, or I can buy and license this image. If I go to the top here, you'll see I also have another search, an option for free images on Adobe Stock. So now I could do a search for 2 business people, and it'll bring up over 2,000 results of free images that I can use and license within my projects. And I can license them for free. So I hope this helps you not only find images and videos you can use with your projects and free ones, but easily access and easily import into Captivate. Next up is hack number 4, when I can take these images and save them to my Adobe CC library. Another great hack with the Adobe Creative Cloud is the use of Adobe Creative Cloud libraries. Just like Workspaces, almost every single application in the Adobe Creative Cloud has access to CC libraries. What are they? Adobe CC libraries are a way for us to save and share our assets that are then accessible in any of the Adobe Creative Cloud applications. Check it out. So let's say we were going to download an asset as we did before in the last hack with Adobe Stock. So here's an image that I licensed for free. And if I import that into my library and right click, I can find it in the library. And I can see that that file is 8,000 kilobytes, which is 8 megs. That's going to be a pretty big file size for an e-learning where every single slide has to be downloaded via the internet. So instead, when searching for images, I have the option of clicking this little heart, which is Save to Library. And it'll automatically save to your default library in the Adobe Creative Cloud. Here it says Save into my default library, which is My Library. And if I go over here to the right and click on My Libraries, I'll see all of the libraries that I have in the Creative Cloud. The main default one is called My Library. If I navigate to My Library, I'll see the image that I just downloaded. So it's here in Captivate, which is great, and I can insert it into Captivate. But now I can also slide over to Premiere and go to Window, Libraries. And if I navigate to my library, I'll see that image that I just downloaded of those business professionals. And now if I slide over to Photoshop, I can go to Window, Libraries, and navigate to my library folder. And again, you'll see that young female executive with the 3 business people that I just downloaded, which I can then edit, optimize, add titles, update, etc. in Adobe Photoshop. It'll also be available in Adobe Premiere, in After Effects, in Illustrator, in InDesign, Adobe Animate, making it so easy to download and then share amongst other applications. It's also possible, if you're working with a designer and you don't really know Photoshop, that you could either get the link to this library or invite people to the library, or even export the images from the library to share with your designer. Okay, so now that we learned a little bit about using Adobe Stock to get some assets, and we learned about having to use Adobe Creative Cloud libraries to share assets, we're now ready for hacks number 5, 6, and 7, which incorporate Adobe Photoshop. Hack number 5, using Adobe Photoshop to load files into Stack. Here we can speed up our workflow and get all of our images into one Photoshop file really fast. So let's jump over to Photoshop, and I'll open up my libraries window. And I went ahead and downloaded about 4 images that we can then open up into Adobe Photoshop. So I'm just going to right click and edit. I'll right click and edit. Right click here and edit. I wish there was a way to do them all together, but we can't. So after one at a time, right click, edit. Okay, so now I have 4 images open in Photoshop. If I went to Window, Arrange, 4 up, you'll see all the images that I have here. I'll go back, Window, Arrange, consolidate back to tabs. And I want to get all these images into one file. That way I can work on them with one file. I can import the entire file into Captivate, or I can pass over the file to my designer to do some more optimization or color correcting. So all I have to do is in Photoshop is go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. So here I could also browse for images. If I have a bunch of images on my desktop or that I've downloaded from some other website, I can browse and load in all of my images. In this case, I've opened them all up in here in Photoshop. So I'm just going to click on Add Open Files, and it puts all of my files that are open currently into this list. And I press OK, and bam! It puts all the files together into one Photoshop file here for me. Isn't that cool? And that's it. Pretty quickly, it puts all these images into one Photoshop document. Now I'm ready to either resize, optimize, color correct, or save and share to the graphic designer. So I could just quickly press Command T and scale these up so they're kind of the same. And I'll click on this third one here, Command T to transform, to scale that up, and press Enter. And the last one, Command T to transform, to scale up, and I'll press Enter. And now I can just press this crop tool and drag the crop in so it fits around my images. Great. Now I have all of my images sized to the exact same size, and if I wanted to, I can now resize them all together by going to Image Size. And you'll see there are 6,000 pixels wide, way too large, huge file sizes. So I could probably bring this down to, say, 1,500 or 1,200 pixels in width. And you'll see the huge transformation in file size here. It shows that it was 68 megs for all these images, and now it's only 4, thereby saving us tremendous file size. And of course, it's a very quick and efficient way to reduce or scale all of our images at once. Now moving on to hack number 6, which is another way to quickly generate your assets. So now in Photoshop, we got all these images into a Photoshop file, but now we want to move on and get them into Adobe Captivate. So to do that, I'd have to optimize and export each image one at a time using either File, Export, Export As, or File, Export, Save for Web. Either way, I'd have to choose what compression method I want to use, press Save, name the file, navigate a folder to save it to, and then press Save. Or, and here's the hack, I can export them all at once in a snap. So first I'm going to do a File Save As to save this to my desktop. So I have this PSD with all my images on there. So I'll just navigate to my desktop for now, and I made a little file for the Adobe Learning world. And inside of the Photoshop here, I'll save my stock photos. All right, so I saved the PSD. I have this all now with all my images. And I want to quickly export. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Generate, Image Assets. That's it. All I do is select File, Generate, Image Assets. And then I make sure that I have appropriate names here. So these are really, really long names. So I can maybe change them. And I'll change this to Stock Photo 1. And this one I'll change to Man on Computer. And as long as I put an extension like JPEG, PNG, or GIF, you'll see the magic happen here. So I'm just going to finish off naming this. This is just so I can know what it is. So this is, let's say, for business people. And lastly, 3 people meeting. .jpeg or JPG. That's it. So as long as I basically name my layers with the appropriate name and extension, all I have to do is press File, Save, or Command S to save my file, and that's it. If I go back to my desktop now and go into this folder and go into that Photoshop folder, you'll see I have the PSD that I saved, and when I press Command S, bam, it exported all 4 assets. So now all I have to do is go to the library in Captivate and click on Import and navigate to those 4 images to bring them inside of Captivate. As we all know, there's always different ways of doing things and different ways of working, which brings us to our next hack. Hack number 7, importing PSD files. Here you can increase your productivity by importing all of your images in one Photoshop file, making it easy to import and easy round-trip editing from Captivate. Let's check it out. So in Photoshop, as we know, we already have this file. I have 4 images saved into a PSD, a Photoshop document. And if I go over to Captivate, I could bring all my panels back using my workspace. And I can navigate to this slide here, and I can go to File, Import, and import a Photoshop file. I'll navigate to my stock photos.psd that I saved before, and I'll click on Open. Now it gives me the choice to import either one layer or all of my layers by either checking or unchecking these boxes here. So I can uncheck the boxes and import just one image to this exact slide. I can also scale that according to the stage size, which will help me fit it to our dimensions here. I'll press OK. And you'll see the image loads in, just one image. I could press Command left bracket to arrange the order and send it to the back. And I'll go to the next slide. Or I could do File, Import, and import the Photoshop file, select my stock photos.psd, and I can keep all of them selected. Maybe I'll uncheck that top one since we already have that here. And I'll scale according to stage size and press OK. And now it'll import all 3 of the selected layers into Captivate. So now all the images are here in this one slide. I could press Command X to cut it and go to a different slide and Command V to paste. I could press Command left bracket or Control left bracket on a PC to bring it to the back. Or of course I could just right click, select Arrange, and send to back. Then I can maybe use the arrow keys to move it over a little bit. And if I hold down the Shift key, I can move it about 10 pixels at a time, moving it a little bit faster across the stage. I'll go back to my other slide. You'll see I have 2 more images here. I can just delete one for now. It's still inside of Captivate. It's still in my library. So if I wanted to swap out a photo, I could just simply right click, replace image, and you'll see it has the stock photos.psd and the 4 images and or layers that I imported, making it easy for me to swap out an image. Okay, I'll right click the image, arrange, send to back. Oh, so as we see, it's very easy to import our Photoshop files. It's very easy to replace images. And what if I wanted to actually change this image or make some adjustments to it? I could do that as well. We have round trip editing from Captivate to Photoshop. All I have to do is right click the image and it says edit PSD source. And I click and it opens up the stock photos.psd inside of Photoshop. If I wanted to now, I can maybe do an adjustment. I can go to Image, Adjustments, and let's say I wanted to mess with the exposure a little bit. So I'll make a pretty drastic change just so we can see the change to the exposure. I'll press OK, and I'll do a File, Save, and now I'll go back to Captivate. You'll see it's already updating the PSD images, and inside of Captivate, you'll see the image has now been updated, and the exposure has clearly been changed. Let's go to this image here. Again, I'll right-click, edit the PSD source. Again, it brings me into Photoshop and opens me up to this file. And you'll see now that here I changed my exposure, and the bad part is I can't really change it back. I mean, well, now I can. I can press Command-Z to undo and then save. And you'll see again, it's updating my images in Photoshop. And if I come back here, you'll see the images has now been fixed. So let's do that again. Let's go ahead and maybe click on this image and we'll make some adjustments to it. We'll right click, edit the PSD source. Only this time, I'm gonna make a suggestion. Instead of just making a change, as you see we were able to do, those changes are permanent. So what I'm better off doing is right-clicking on the image in Photoshop and converting it to what's called a smart object. It's an object that's pretty smart. A smart object helps you make all of the features of Photoshop changeable and editable. So let's do that again. Let's make a change here. Let's say I went back to Image, Adjustments, Exposure again, and I changed the exposure, made it dark, and I pressed OK and press Save. I can go back to Captivate. You'll see it's updating the PSD file, and there it goes. It has changed the exposure. Looks like it's also moved my image. So I'll arrange that to the back. But this time you'll see that because I made it a smart object, I now can double click the exposure and reset it to put it back or delete it altogether, making it easy to change my mind or update my images at any time. In Photoshop, this is called a non-destructive edit. So smart objects preserve an image's source content with all its original characteristics, enabling you to perform non-destructive editing to the layer. So let's do it one more time. So here I'll right-click this layer and I'll convert to a smart object. And now I can use any of the image adjustments here or any of the filters without worrying about ruining the image. So here I'll go to Stylize and I'll go to Oil Paint and I'll keep the default settings as is and I'll press OK. And you'll see that I have added this little stylized painting technique to my image. And if I press Save, we know it's going to update that image inside of Captivate. And I can always go back. So if I don't like it, the boss doesn't like it, the client doesn't like it, no problem. I can either double click and change the effect or style of the painting, or toss it into the trash to get rid of it, or simply turn off the visibility here so that you no longer see that filter applied. I'll press Save. And again, we see the update instantly in Captivate. For our next hack, we move on to round-trip editing from Captivate to Adobe Audition to help you edit, improve, and normalize your audio levels. So the audio that you just heard was created in Adobe Captivate. And you'll see it here on my timeline. And if I double click, it'll open up the slide audio panel and I can actually see my waveform and the audio. And in Captivate, I could do a bunch of edits. I could edit or remove parts of the audio in the beginning and at the end. I could increase the volume and add silence. The problem is when I want to go to adjust the volume, what am I adjusting it to? Yes, I can increase it a bunch of decibels, or I can decrease it by a bunch of decibels, but I can't really see where it's at. And all of the audio in my entire project or any video or TV show should always be normalized at an exact level. That way no peaks go too high and everything is the same, so you don't have to constantly adjust your volume on your computer or your TV up or down as you're watching. So instead of trying to normalize the audio here in Captivate, I'm going to click down here. You'll see there's a button where we can access Adobe Audition. If I click, it'll open up my audio track inside of Audition, letting me know that once I'm ready, I can press the OK button here and it'll import all the changes that I make. I'll Command Tab over to Adobe Audition, and you'll see I have the exact same audio here.
For our next hack, we move on to round-trip editing from Captivate to Adobe Audition.
So as it's playing, if we look down here at our levels, you'll see that the audio is going into the red.
Next hack, we move on to round-trip editing from Captivate to Adobe Audition.
So it's too loud. Normally, audio is probably between about -6 to -15 decibels. I think YouTube normalizes audio to about -14 decibels. And for the web, it's recommended for conversation at about -6 decibels. So what we can do here is select our entire audio by pressing Command A, or just clicking and dragging across the entire audio there. Much easier if you press Command A or Control A on the PC. And we could just come into here. You'll see here, there's a little controller where I can actually increase or decrease the decibels by sliding to the left or sliding to the right. Or I could just click inside here and put -6 and press Enter. And now you'll see if I play my audio back,
for our next hack,
all the audio levels, all the peaks
to Adobe Audition.
are maxed at -6. And the audio therefore sounds much better.
Move on to round-trip editing from Captivate to Adobe Audition.
Normalize all of your audio to make sure it's all about -6 for any conversation or instruction. Next, if I zoom in by pressing the plus key on my keyboard, and I go over to these non-wave parts of the audio where there's really no wave, there's really no audio, but I press the play button, the space bar, or press the play button here, you can hear that there's some background noise. And that background noise isn't just there during the quiet parts, it's actually there during the entire audio. It just maybe we can't really detect it. So what I could do in Audition is if I go over to Effects, and I drop down to Noise Reduction Restoration, I can capture the noise print that I've selected, this background noise. Once it's captured, it'll let me know that the selection will be captured and loaded as a noise print for the use the next time the noise reduction effect is launched, which is going to be right now. So normally I would want to select all of the audio at this time to push that effect to my entire audio track. But for this time, I'm just going to go back over to Effects and go back to Noise Reduction and Noise Reduction Process, just so you can see the before and afters of this exact piece of audio. The Effect Noise Reduction panel shows up, and if I play it back, you'll see it'll play back that one little sound. There's before, there's after. So it's not perfect, but I can always make it better by increasing the noise reduction. Now you'll see the before and after. I can press apply, and now that little background noise you'll see is gone. So I'll go through that one more time, this time applying it to the entire WAV file. So I'll undo that. I'll press Command Z. I'll press my plus keys to zoom into the audio to find a part with no talking. You can sample that background noise. I'll go up to Effects, Noise Reduction Restoration, and I'll capture that noise print. I press OK because it lets me know that it's caught it. And this time I'll press Command A to select all. And one more time, Effects, Noise Reduction, and I'll select Noise Reduction Process. Now I'll press Apply, and I've now applied this effect to the entire audio.
To round-trip editing from Captivate to Adobe Audition.
And lastly, of course, I could also edit by selecting parts of this audio, pressing Delete, going to the front perhaps, removing any dead audio there, or any long pauses. And then I could do File, Close, or Command W to close this file. It'll then ask if I want to save it. I'll say yes. And I go back into Captivate, where I can press OK to import my new changes into Captivate. And there we have hack number 8, improving audio and round-trip editing with Adobe Audition. For my next hack, I'd like to introduce you to Adobe Premiere. It's not necessarily a hack, but let's say more of an intro of how we can just spice up and simply color correct and add some titles and motion graphics to your videos easily and quickly in Adobe Premiere. So I'm going to go ahead and import a video that I put together using some stock video. I'll use some slide video. I'll click browse. I'll navigate to my video and press OK. I could resize the video here under properties. Maybe I know the stage is 627, so I can make the height 627 and then simply center this horizontally and vertically. And I can play the video and you'll see it's just a simple video with some people in the office. Okay, so what if I wanted to spice this up? Maybe color correct some of the parts, add some titles, lower thirds, just to enhance the video a little bit. And I can do that in Adobe Premiere. So if you're given the Captivate file with the video already inserted, I could just right-click the video, find it in the library, and then right-click the video in the library and simply export it and save it to a folder. I already have the video, so I'll use the one here already, and I'll press cancel. And then we can go over to Adobe Premiere. You'll see there are a bunch of hands-on tutorials that can help you get started. Okay, so now that we're in Premiere, we can open up a new project by clicking on the New Project button here. And then we'll name our project. I'll call this Stock Video Demo. And I'll browse to where I'm going to save it, which is going to be off of my desktop into this Premiere folder. And that's it. Everything here just looks complex, but you can just name your video, browse the location where you want to save it, and then simply press OK. Adobe Premiere opens up. You'll see Premiere has 4 different window panes here in the setup. I am currently in the editing workspace. And right over here in the project panel, it says Import Media to Start. So I could either go to File, Import, or Command I, or simply double click here anywhere in this space. I could then navigate to my video to import that into Premiere. And now I have the video here. If I double click it, I can preview it here in the source panel. And if I want, I could just right click this video here and create a new sequence from this clip. This makes a new sequence with the exact specs from our current video here. The same size, the same frames per second, etc. So now I have the video here loaded into Premiere in the timeline. If I press the space bar, I can play the video. And you'll see, like we spoke before about workspaces, under Window Workspaces, you'll see I have numerous workspaces here for Premiere. And it's even easier as Premiere, kind of like Lightroom, has buttons on top to quickly switch from workspace to workspace. So I can go to the Effects workspace, for example. And in the Effects workspace, you'll see that I have a bunch of effects. And there's some video transitions in here. And under Dissolve is probably the transitions I use the most. We have the Cross Dissolve, and we have Dip to Black. So I can just drag this to the front of my video. And you'll see now it'll dip from black. And I can put that on the back end of my video as well, just dragging that on, and it'll now dip to black. All right, that looks nice. Okay, so I also noticed that this clip here is not looking so great. Maybe it needs some color correction or something. So I'm just going to navigate to where the 2 clips meet. So if I do some color adjustments now, I'll be adjusting the entire clip. But I just want to adjust this one part with this woman speaking here. So I can use the step forward or step backward buttons to move 1 frame back or 1 frame forward. Or I could simply use the left and arrow keys on my keyboard to go 1 frame back or 1 frame forward. And you'll see right there is where the 2 videos intersect. So right here, I'll go grab my razor tool and I'll just click right here on this timeline indicator to cut the 2 clips. I can then select the second clip and maybe navigate to a spot where I can kind of view the entire scene here. And I'll switch over to the color workspace by clicking over here at the top, and I'll click color. And at the top here, you'll see I have basic correction. There's numerous sections within this Lumetri color palette that I can tweak. But for now, we could just start with the basic correction here, which is very similar to Adobe Lightroom, which is a photography application also by Adobe. And you'll see here I have temperature settings. I can increase or decrease the temperature, bringing it more towards yellow or more towards blue, making it cooler or warmer. Or I could just double click this to reset the temperature, which I think is okay in this picture. I can adjust the tint, dragging it to the left or to right, but again, I'll double click that to reset it. The tint looks pretty decent, but maybe I'll bump up the exposure a little bit to brighten up the picture, and then I'll increase the contrast a bit, and maybe I will decrease the highlights a tad, decrease the shadows a little bit, adjust the whites there, and maybe darken those black. So it's not perfect, but it's a little bit better. If I toggle this little checkbox here, I can see the before and after. So a pretty big improvement pretty quickly. All right, moving on. So now we have some transitions and we did some color correction. What if we wanted to now add some titles or some lower thirds? Well, we can click over to the graphics workspace here. And in the graphics workspace, you'll see that there are a bunch of templates, or what's known as MOGRTs, which is motion graphics templates. Most of them are created in After Effects, and we're able to import them and tweak them and use them in our own productions. So I can navigate down. You see they have some titles here that I can use. I have a lower third. I could also search in this box. I can search for titles. And you'll see a bunch of titles will show up. I could actually preview them. If I scrub over them a little bit, you can see the animation of the title. Here, that's just a simple fade in. And if I want to add this to my project, I could just simply click on it and drag it down to the timeline and place it wherever I'd like it to show up. All right, I can click on the title, and as soon as I double click, it switches over to the Essentials Graphics panel and shows us all the features to edit our text. So here I could change the font if I want, and the fonts here are free to go because we're going to export this as a video, so any fonts are good to go here. So I can double click inside to change the title. I can click on the text and I can easily change the font. And now if I play this back, you see I have a nice title. So it's going to render much better when it exports. Just right now the redraw is a little bit slow, and I also have my playback resolution at 1/4 so that it plays a little bit faster and smoother. But you can see how when I stop, it looks nice and clean. Great, so now I added a nice title to my video. And then maybe over here, I can go back to the essentials and browse. And maybe this time I want to, instead of looking for a title, I want to look for a lower third. And you'll see it brings up a bunch of text that are sitting in the lower third of the application. Usually we cut our screens into thirds in video. So I can peruse, you see there's a bunch to choose from. And I can always go over to Adobe Stock, and you'll see here now I have 40 pages of other stuff. Some of the stuff you have to pay a price for, however, but you can click on this little checkbox and I can search for free stuff, and I can search for free lower thirds or titles or intros. So you'll see here I still have 39 pages. I could also press the tilde key, which would expand this panel, and I can see all of the free lower thirds motion graphics templates that I'm able to use in my project. I'll press the tilde key again to close that out, and I'll just kind of scrub through. So as you can see, there are so many that I can choose from. So why don't we just grab one here? I'll just drag it into the timeline. It's loading it in, and it'll import all the fonts that are necessary for it. Okay, we'll play it back. So I'm not sure if it's the best choice for this video, but we're gonna go with it. And some of these motion graphics templates are actually created with controls. Master controls to change the animation and how it's moving. And then of course, text controls to control or change the text. Like there, text and or color. So I'll put team building, and I'll close that and open up next text number 2. And we'll play it again. Great. Again, it's a little blurry because we have to render out the video, but you get the idea. So it's pretty easy to update. You can see how we can change the colors. Here, I can change this. If I don't like the pink, I can change it to blue. So really easy to update these motion graphics templates, and they do add a little bit of zest to your videos. Okay, and then when we're ready to export, that's just as easy. On the top right here, I can click on this little quick export button. I can click on this blue link to select my file name and location. I'll call this video updated, and I'll press save. And then I'll simply press export, and it's going to export it out to the exact same resolution as what it was when I brought it in. Or if I wanted to, I can select and export here to a 720 HD, 480, or 1080p. You have some options. I'm just going to go ahead and press export, and then I'll speed this up for us. Okay, so my video finished rendering in Adobe Premiere, and I am now back into Captivate, and I'm going to replace this footage. So I'm going to right click, I'll find it in the library, and then I'll double click it in the library and click import to import my new updated stock video here, and I'll press open. It lets me know that it's been updated. I'll press OK, and then OK again, and then I'll preview from this slide. And there's our new updated video with our titles, transitions, and color correction. So there it is, hack number 9, spicing up your videos in Adobe Premiere.
Don't forget hack number 10. Make sure you check out Adobe Character Animator to help enhance your e-learning and make learning fun with the use of free animated characters like me.
So I sure do love Adobe Character Animator. What a really great way to spice up your e-learning, to make it more engaging, increase learner attention and absorption, and of course, just make it fun. Now, I admit, it could be a lot of work to illustrate your own character, to rig it, to animate it, and then of course, to bring it into Captivate. I've done a few, and although fun, it is a lot of work. However, if we go into Adobe Character Animator, we'll see that there are a bunch of example puppets. All of these puppets are free to use, and they're already been illustrated, they've already been rigged, they are fully functional and ready to go, and all here for free for you to use as you wish in any of your projects. And if you look up here, you'll see a See More button, and if I click on that, it brings me to this website where there are even more characters that I can download and use for my e-learning projects, social media, or what have you, all for free. I'm going to head back into Character Animator and just choose one of the example puppets here. I'm going to click on Dr. Applesmith. And when I do that, it opens up Character Animator, and it takes the character, Dr. Applesmith here, and it places it in what's called a scene. The scene is basically like the timeline inside of Captivate, that everything within my slide, with everything within my timeline is exactly what I'll see when the project is exported. And then you'll see that the character is already rigged, which that means is that the hands and arms are movable, draggable. They put bones in the arms so they move as they should. And I can move them and place them to rearrange the position of my character. If I turn on the camera here, you'll see me, hello. And you'll see that as I move, the character moves as well because it's tracking to my face. As I blink, the character will blink. If I raise my eyebrows or move my eyes around, the character follows suit, really bringing him to life. This character in particular has a head turn, so if I turn my head, you'll see that his head will also turn. And then if I click on the mic over here, you'll see that his mouth now mimics mine. So I can record scenes. I can set up my scene for recording by moving his hands and placing them in a different spot. And then I can press this record button, which will record my audio and all of the movements and blinking I make, thereby creating my animated character. So let's do it. Gives me a countdown. And some characters come with what's called controls or triggers. And you'll see that this character has a different trigger to change his hand from a normal hand to a pointer finger. You can do that on both hands. And for some reason here, he's holding a mouse, and here it's a live mouse. Just some triggers and some fun stuff created in this project. So I'm going to click off, and I'm going to use this trigger here to use the pointer finger as I speak. So I could also press the 3 key on my keyboard to toggle that back and forth during my animation. So I'll position the hands here on his coat, and I'll press the record button. Quiet on the set. It gives me the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Don't forget to use Character Animator to spice up your projects and use free animated characters like me. Don't forget to use Character Animator to spice up your projects and use free animated characters like me. Okay, so it wasn't the best recording on that take, but everything I'm able to do again and again to redo it, I can even delete this audio here and not use my audio and import a professional narrator. Or I could slide over to Adobe Captivate. And if I go over to slide notes and either create or paste in some text, I can click on this button here to create text to speech, right? To turn my text into audio. I have some of the Neo speeches downloaded, which I think are some of the best that Captivate offers, and will generate the audio to hear what Paul sounds like.
Don't forget hack number 10. Make sure you check out Adobe Character Animator to help enhance your e-learning.
Nice. So I could just create this, close this, and I could find this audio in the library, and then I can right-click it and export it. However, I found some better voices on a website called Well Said Labs. And here they have a bunch of different avatars that you can use.
Your creative life will evolve in ways that you can't possibly imagine.
Your creative life will evolve in ways that you can't possibly imagine.
So I'm going to use Tristan here.
Your creative life will evolve in ways that you can't possibly imagine.
And I'll paste in my text, and I'll create this audio. So once downloaded, I'll go back to Character Animator, and I'm just going to import this audio in. I'll double click over here, and I'll import this into Character Animator, and I'm going to drag it down to my timeline, select my character. I could have it start a little later, perhaps. And I'm just going to select my character and go over to Timeline, Compute Lip Sync Take from Scene Audio. And in just seconds, I've now updated my character.
Don't forget hack number 10. Make sure you check out Adobe Character Animator to help enhance your e-learning and make learning fun with the use of free animated characters like me.
So not bad. I can go back and re-record it, and I could press record and maybe turn off the lip sync or turn off the face or the eye gaze and just use the draggers.
Don't forget hack number 10. Make sure you check out Adobe Character Animator to help enhance your e-learning.
All right, so you get the idea. Once I'm completed with my scene, I could do a file export and export this via Adobe Media Encoder as a video, but then I have to bring the entire video as a slide video into Captivate. That is one option. Another option is file, export, PNG sequence, and wave. This will export every single frame as a PNG and the audio that goes along with it. Once I've exported that out, I can shoot over to Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I can open up the PNGs that we exported and turn this into an animated GIF. So I'll select the first PNG, 000.png, and then I'll click down here and select image sequence. And this will load in all of the images into Photoshop. Here I'll set the frame rate. The frame rate in Character Animator was 30 frames per second, so I'll keep it the same here. I'll press OK. And boom! I have my animated character now inside of Photoshop in the timeline. So then I can go to File, Export, Save for Web. And then under Save for Web, I can click on this and select GIF. And then I see the file size here, which is pretty big. So we know the height of our Captivate video is about 627. So I'm sure 500 pixels is fine here. And then I'll press Save. And then I'll head on over to Captivate. Okay, in Captivate, I'll go over to Media and Animation to load in my animated GIF. Okay, it's been inserted. I can move them into place, and then I can go over to the scene under Options and import my audio. And I'll load in that WAV file that Adobe Character Animator created and import that into Captivate. And then I'll play it back.
Don't forget hack number 10. Make sure you check out Adobe Character Animator to help enhance your e-learning and make learning fun with the use of free animated characters like me.
And there you have it, my 10 plus hacks with Adobe Captivate and the Creative Cloud. I hope you enjoyed these hacks and they help you increase productivity, spice up your projects, and help you get creative. My name is Mark Itzkowitz. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the amazing speakers here at Adobe eLearning World 2021. Cheers, everybody, and thanks for watching.